Hey, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're revisiting Ridge Racer Type 4, or R4, for the PlayStation 1. This is being played on a PlayStation 3. I tried to make this look as nice as possible. You know, when it gets transferred into 1080p, you know, some stuff gets lost in translation. This was always made to be played on a CRT television set, and I don't have a frame meister, and I don't foresee me having the kind of budget or even the desire to invest in that. But anyway, I left the cutscene, and I remember watching this thinking that was like the most beautiful rendered woman I'd ever seen, like, in a game. I like this early CGI like blew my mind, and I always thought like she was like the cutest of the little, I guess, the racing girls. I don't know what you would call them in the Ridge Racer games. Anyway, this is the fourth Ridge Racer game. Sorry, I'm really tired. I wanted to put this off, but it's already been a week and a half. I've been kind of under the weather, so I've been really worn out, and work is just making it even more difficult for me. But I really wanted to make this video as it's my favorite racing game, although you probably won't be able to tell because I play pretty lousy on this. This time, I know I covered this in the past, but this time I play a different team, which I think it's Team Pac-Man or Team Namco or whatever. Last time I played Team Mappy. What I really like about this game are the RPG aspects, where there's actually a little storyline, and based on how you do, the storyline kind of changes a little bit. So this one, I picked the downtrodden guy or whatever who doesn't have much of a budget. So this one's a lot more difficult. I also haven't played this in a while. This is how you switch to analog on the PlayStation 3 if you weren't familiar, if you're playing PlayStation 1 games. But anyway, yeah, so everybody has their own little story or whatever. Mappy and the Namco or Team Pac-Man are the easiest, I think, of the teams to play as. I can't even remember what the other teams are. I think one's, because I don't play them that often, because usually when I play this game, I haven't played it for a long time, so I'm gonna pick the easier levels. But I used to play the shit out of this game. This game is the fourth Ridge Racer game. There's Ridge Racer, there's Ridge Racer Revolution, Rage Racer, and then this is Ridge Racer Type 4. This also came with a copy of Ridge Racer at 60 frames per second. Now that might confuse some people because there's two different options. There's original 30 frames per second, but that's more of a demo. The only full 60 frames per second full game on that disc is the 60 frames per second game, if you happen to pick this game up. The reason why they actually did that game in 60 frames per second is because their intention was to originally do this game in 60 frames per second, but they were not able to accomplish that because this game is so demanding. You have to understand, even though this game probably looks like ass now, this was the best looking racing game out there. This came out after Gran Turismo, which was, sorry, my voice cracked there, which was like the best racing game on the PlayStation 1 at the time. Before that, I believe it was Need for Speed 3. Of course, that's all subjective, but if you look back, it's pretty easy to tell. And then after this came out, Gran Turismo 2 came out, and that, in my opinion, blew it away. So this was like the best looking racing game. In order to have the best looking racing game, they compromised the frame rate, and they settled for 30 frames per second. I made the mistake here of not getting a car that was really good at drifting, or car that drifted differently. I haven't played this in a long time, so I'm not really acclimated with what used to work for me because I hadn't played it in a long time, but I wanted to share it with you guys because I absolutely adore this game. There hasn't been a Ridge Racer that's come out since or before that I've really actually enjoyed. I did kind of like Ridge Racer 5 when it came out, but that might have just been the novelty of playing it on the PlayStation 2 because it did look really nice. That's probably the one that I played the most after this one, and I don't really even think I played it that much. The Ridge Racer games before this usually had one track, and they tried to make it into multiple tracks by having the tracks branch. Now that this game does do that, but there's actually different tracks. That's one of the things that attracted me to this, because I really don't like sim racing games. Every once in a while I'll grow a wild hair up my ass and I'll try one, but you know, for the most part, I definitely prefer arcade racing games, and I just feel like this got it right. Now, I'm sucking at this particular gameplay. Actually, if you go back and watch my other video, I do quite well, I believe. I think I get first place every time. I also was driving for Team Mappy, who tends to have more money and better cars. This particular team, you can get the decent manufacturers, but the cars are kind of like secondhand and not as good, so they're not going to be as fast as you see. As you can see, the AI is quite aggressive. They drive like it's Mad Max or whatever, so you can try to drive as nice as you want to, but the other cars are going to slam into you. It's definitely an arcade racing experience, and I absolutely love the design of these levels. They're very Japanese looking, and they're just nice, and there wasn't anything that quite looked like this at the time. And honestly, when Gran Turismo 2 came out, even though it looked better, I still really like the style this game has. If you get really good at this game, you actually can unlock Pac-Man cars, which I think I might have been able to unlock one, but I can't remember. I mean, I was good at this game. I played it a lot, but I wasn't like the best in the world. But this is probably the racing game I played the most of, which is a big deal considering that when I got this game, I was still, I guess, early high school. I didn't have a job yet, so you know, this was one of those things where I had to pick a game and that's it, and that's what I'd have for months or whatever. And I don't know, something about this game spoke to me, and I didn't really like racing games that much, and I played the other Ridge Racer games and I didn't really like those that much, especially the fact that it was always on one track. But something spoke to me. Maybe it was the girl on the back of the box, but it also came with 2 games. Maybe that's what it was. But it definitely looked better than Gran Turismo, which in my opinion was at the time one of the best looking games, and I wanted something to really, I know this sounds crazy now, really show off the capabilities of my PlayStation. And what better way to get a game that looks, in my opinion, better than Gran Turismo did. Plus, this was more like a simplified version. And I remember playing this and being like, oh, this is cool. I kind of felt like I had, though I think my mom probably bought it or whatever for my birthday or whatever, is because I didn't work. But I had selector's remorse, not buyer's remorse, because I didn't buy it. But I remember feeling guilty, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this. I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna keep at it. I'm gonna keep on trying this. And I did, and I mastered it, and I was like, oh wow. So if you let go and hit the brakes and hit the gas or whatever combination that is, all of a sudden your car swerves around just like that. And I just started learning like little tricks and stuff that you could do with the different car manufacturers, and that's something that was fairly uncommon. I think the first Gran Turismo you couldn't really modify your car that much either. This gave you some options, because not only did you get the RPG aspects of the storyline of the different teams, but that had different budgets, but you also got to pick a car manufacturer, and each car handled differently. So with those combinations, like if you pick a poor team, you're gonna get a different type of car, versus if you pick a team that has more money, you're gonna get a faster car with the same abilities and stuff like that. So you could definitely experiment and try to find out like what car is best for you. I don't think they've ever made anything quite like this. Ridge Racer 5 I feel like was rushed for the PlayStation 2's release. I'm not really all that familiar with the games after that one. I know they tried to come out with like a realistic simulation one, and that one backfired. And then I think the last one that came out was like Ridge Racer Unbound, and I didn't play that one. There was one on the 3DS or whatever. It's really sad, but I mean, this is the last one I'll probably play. And the first one I probably played for real. Before this I played Ridge Racer. I remember playing Ridge Racer actually in the arcade, and that was actually quite cool. It feels like it looked better in the arcade, but I think it ran on the same board as the PlayStation. There is also a game, trying to think who made it. I think Jalico made it. Is that how you say the name's company? There was a Speed Racer game, and it was like it was like Ridge Racer with like the one track, but you could play different tracks or different variations of the one track, because it would have like different branching parts of the track, which this game does have, but you have more of those tracks, so it adds variety. And I really like the little things that are in the background, like the planes and the fireworks and everything. But there was this rare Speed Racer game. If I saw it at the store, I'd pick it up if it was at a reasonable price. It was like Ridge Racer, but you had like all the abilities of the Mach 5, where like you could take a shortcut by like sawing through the forest, or you could like jump over other cars and stuff like that. And the only thing that annoyed me, it had like a remixed song of the TV show, which was kind of lame, but you know, it was kind of a fun, cool game, and I really kind of wish I had it, to be honest with you, if anything, just to make a video of. But yeah, like the colors and stuff like this, it has a really more earthy tone, and then some of the other levels are like super colorful and stuff like that. That's like something that the other Ridge Racer games really don't have. I think Rage Racer had more earthy tones, but the other ones are always like just super vibrant. And like I said, like a big thing about this game, aside of course the girl, was the fact that you actually had several real tracks, like not just variations of the same track. And I really like the RPG aspects, and I don't think I've seen anything like that until like, I don't know, like maybe even up to the PlayStation 3 or whatever. But You know, it was just so different. I feel like it has so much more character than Gran Turismo, which is really sterile, though Gran Turismo is like realistic. This is obviously an arcade game, and I love the legacy of the Mappy and Pac-Man and stuff like that. And I was really a fan of Namco at the time as well. Like, I really liked the Ace Combat games. I don't know if Ace Combat 3 came out, but I know 2 came out, and I was definitely a huge fan of that. I loved Time Crisis in the arcade, and Namco was really a company that you could really trust. Like, you know, I'm trying to think of companies beside Rockstar right now that you can really put your trust in. Maybe Square Enix. I don't know. EA has been redeeming themselves a little bit. You know, I don't know. But I know that, like, whenever I saw Namco, I would get a quality game, and that's one of the things that really made me want this is the arcade aspect. I was intrigued. I was like, I don't have a racing game. This is one of my first endeavors in a racing game. It's an arcade game. From what I played from Rage Racer, I did like the physics and stuff like that, but, you know, I didn't like the whole one track that just changed, but it was still the same track, so I really liked that. And if you can believe it, at the time, the graphics really sold me. I was like, if anything, this will be a game that if I have friends over, I can show off like how awesome my PlayStation looks. And then you had the 60 frames per second version of Ridge Racer, which was like getting 2 games for one for the price of one. It actually came in a dual jewel case, so if you're a collector, remember that. Because, you know, sometimes you'll get these games and they'll try to trick you and take stuff out of the box if you happen to go to a retro store or whatever. You know, they try to bamboozle you a little bit. But yeah, it comes in a dual jewel case because you have to have the other game. I'm so sorry, I'm so tired, but I really wanted to record this. I'm doing terrible at this game, as you can see. I'm just making it. These games get super difficult later on if you like start playing the other teams. I can't remember why they're more difficult, because if I remember correctly, like, this guy has like the least amount of money. Maybe the cars are like really fast and like hard to handle. There's something different about them. But it's cool, like, each car has, like, a different attribute, and yeah, I just don't remember any other Ridge Racer games. After that, like, they just started to try to emulate other games, I feel like the Need for Speed Underground games and stuff like that, and then Gran Turismo was popular, so then they tried to come out with a sim Ridge Racer, and I really feel like this series lost its identity, and I really hope one day Namco really takes the time to think about what made this series special and goes back to its roots or whatever. And maybe they have, and if they have, please recommend a game that's contemporary. What I mean by contemporary is from Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. I don't think they have anything on PlayStation 4 yet, but I really want to give this series another chance. I just have not played anything as good as Part 4. Like, they always seem to have to change the physics and everything. I just feel like the physics are perfect. Also, interesting fact, I think that's the first time the girl was ever rendered. I think before she was like a sprite, like on Duke Nukem 3D, like a static sprite that like zoomed in and out. But yeah, here you got this nice little night level, and it's in the airport and stuff like that. To me, at the time, at least, it felt like very, very immersive, and I didn't have a driver's license, and this was the closest that it felt like driving at night and doing all this risky stuff. And plus, I probably would have been too much of a fucking wuss anyway, do anything like beyond like the speed limit. Like, I'm not one of those people that are super brave when it comes to driving. I've been in a few car wrecks that kind of shook me up a little bit growing up, so I'm kind of like a careful driver. Like, I drive like a grandma, and I always stress out every time somebody mentions somewhere new. They're like, oh, even though I think this is supposed to be New York, it looks more like Las Vegas, but maybe that's just my observation. It's obviously PlayStation 1, and you would never be able to race like this in New York because it would be bumper to bumper traffic. The last time I went to New York, it was funny. Everybody had like a dent in the same part of their car, like right in the passenger side of the rear view wheel. There's like a dent. Most of those cars are from fucking New Jersey, though. Yeah, New York was an interesting experience. I would love to see a game like have a realistic like New York. I guess Grand Theft Auto 4 was as close as that we'll get, but as good as I thought that game looked, I played it not too long ago, and it looked so dated. Now it breaks my heart, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is starting to look dated. I'm like, holy cow. Because now I'm like used to playing games like Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs to me is like, even though it might not be as interactive as Grand Theft Auto 5, although Grand Theft Auto kind of has its own like little art style going on, so it's sort of on purpose. But you know, that was a carryover from last gen. Curious to see what Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm guessing that's what it's going to be called, Red Dead Redemption 2 looks like, with the engine that's made exclusively for this generation. And I'm sure that whatever Grand Theft Auto comes out, it's going to be mind-blowing, although I'm really worried that it's going to have a huge online component, because they made so much money with the online components that they had with Grand Theft Auto 5, to the point where they essentially canceled like the planned DLC. Like, we were supposed to get like versions of the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and the Damned, but we never got those because Rockstar was making Rockstar money on fucking DLC. That's a dad joke if you ever heard one, Rockstar and Rockstar money. But I really like the baked in lighting and stuff like that. That looks really good on this level, I have to say. Like, I'm quite impressed. And now to kind of round things out a little bit, because this video is getting quite long, we'll try a different car. This car is more about drifting, judging by the little Ultraman fin on the back of it. So we'll try this out real quick to round the video out, and then we'll call it a day. Sounds good to you? Sounds great to me, because I'm kind of tired and this video is dragging, if you ask me, and I don't want a video that drags. So we'll play the first level again, Helter Skelter, because why not name it after something that's referencing something kind of terrible. But anyway, yeah, see, this car has this fin on it, so when you hit the brakes and then turn, like, this car basically almost does like a 180, like, it's crazy. But this is the car, in my opinion, or the manufacturer that you probably want to start out with early on. Like when you're first starting to get acclimated with the game. Like, I think this is great. I love the little airplane effect there, like I mentioned before. There's just little details. I like the little Pac-Man thing on the sign and stuff like that. But yeah, and the cars look kind of silly and unique and stuff like that. And I just, maybe, like I said, like, suggest one that you feel like has the spirit of this game that's contemporary, and I'd be happy to try it out if I can find it. But I feel like from what I've seen, Ridge Racer's really lost its identity. I kind of feel like they've just tried to copy other games that have been successful instead of keeping their own formula and doing their own thing, which is what they kind of did until, like, I guess the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. But I'm gonna end this here. I just wanted to show you the different ways the manufacturers handle, where it actually makes a huge difference, like more than just like you would in a contemporary game where you change like the shocks or some crap like that, because this is an arcade game. It's not super realistic. I am a fan of like the Need for Speed games and stuff like that, even though I'm terrible at them. Almost as terrible as I am at this at the moment. If I kept on playing this, I feel like I could get back to where I was, but I was playing this game quite a bit. But thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I'm not super enthusiastic, trying to do my best here. Could not have made a video at all, but I decided to make one anyway. But yeah, anyway, don't do heroin, kids, otherwise you'll sound like me. Although I'm not on heroin, I'm just really tired, but you know, I'll make a joke at my expense, why not? Take care, bye.